I want to start today by asking you to do something a little bit uncomfortable.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, right out of the gate. But I want you to be really honest with yourself about the very first thing you did this morning. Like before you brushed your teeth, or maybe even before you opened your eyes fully. Did you check the scoreboard?
The scoreboard. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that mental tally. Maybe it was checking your email to see how many people want a piece of you today, or maybe checking the likes on a post from last night, or even just looking at your to-do list and feeling that spike of adrenaline about how much you have to, quote-unquote, win today to feel like a valid human being.
That is such a pervasive modern condition. It's that subtle nagging pressure to quantify your existence before you've even had your coffee. It's this feeling that you start the day at a deficit, like you're in the red and you have to dig your way out of the hole with productivity just to get back to zero.
Exactly. Most of us live in that hole. We treat our self-worth like a stock price that fluctuates based on our daily performance. But today, we are going to look at a source that essentially takes a baseball bat to that scoreboard. We are doing a deep dive into a track called The Gold Inside by the artist Hi-Fi.
And I can hear the listeners pausing right now thinking, wait, is this a music review show now? Did I tune into the wrong deep dive?
Right, fair question. It's not. While the track is described as this upbeat pop rock anthem, we aren't here to talk about the bass line or the bridge, well, not musically anyway. We're here because Hi-Fi, the female artist behind this, released a breakdown of the lyrics that serves as a literal map for psychological recovery.
It's fascinating because she's taken really heavy clinical concepts, things we usually only hear in a therapist's office or read in dense textbooks, and she's encoded them into a 3-minute song.
Right, we're talking about concepts like identity enmeshment and distress tolerance and anti-fragility. Our mission today is to unpack this track line by line to see how it offers a shortcut, like a blueprint, really, for rebuilding self-worth from the ground up.
And doing it without the dryness of a textbook. When you put these tools into a narrative, into a melody, they become sticky. You remember them differently than you remember a dry definition.
So let's start where the song starts, the trap. The scoreboard we just mentioned. The opening lyrics are a confession. She sings, "I used to check the scoreboard every single day. Thought if I wasn't winning, I should fade away. I thought my value was the trophies on the wall, and if I don't catch it, I wasn't worth the ball."
I wasn't worth the ball. That is a brutal line.
It hits really hard, doesn't it? It's not just saying I failed. It's saying if I'm not scoring, I shouldn't even be in the game. It questions your right to even exist in the space.
Precisely. In psychology, we identify this as having an external locus of evaluation. It's a cognitive distortion where you attach your inherent human worth to external outcomes. You're essentially outsourcing your self-esteem to the world around you.
So if the world applauds, you're good. If the world is silent, or worse, if it's critical, you're worthless. You're just empty.
Correct. And the source material describes this as conditional self-worth. Think about the mechanics of that for a second. It's the belief that you are only as good as your last achievement. It's incredibly exhausting because you are constantly on trial. Every single day, the court is in session, and you have to re-earn the right to feel good about yourself.
It's like a subscription service to happiness that expires every 24 hours. You wake up and your subscription is canceled until you do something productive.
That is a perfect analogy. And the key takeaway here, which Hi-Fi mentions in her breakdown, is the distinction that human beings are not human doings.
I've heard that phrase before, but it usually feels like a bumper sticker. What does it actually mean in a clinical sense?
It means decoupling your existence from your utility. In our current economy, we are trained to view ourselves as assets. I am valuable because I produce code, or I am valuable because I manage a team. But if you strip away the doing, the being must still have value. You do not have to win to justify taking up space.
But that's terrifying for high achievers, because the scoreboard gives us a sense of control, right? If I can measure it, I can manage it. If I can see the score, I know I'm safe.
Exactly. Stepping away from the scoreboard feels like free-falling. It feels reckless. Which leads us to the next phase of the song, where she talks about how we try to protect ourselves from that fall. There's this line in the pre-chorus, "I let the heavy armor just lose its grip. I found the difference between my job and me."
Let's talk about that heavy armor, because when I hear armor, I think of protection. I think of being safe in battle. Why does she want it to lose its grip?
Well, in the context of trauma recovery and anxiety, which this song is deeply rooted in, that armor usually represents perfectionism.
Wait, hold on. Perfectionism is armor. I usually think of perfectionism as just trying hard or having high standards. Are you saying having high standards is a defense mechanism?
There is a distinct difference between healthy striving and perfectionism. Healthy striving is internal. I want to do this well because I care about the quality. Perfectionism is external. It's a shield. We think if I look perfect and work perfect and live perfect, I can avoid the pain of judgment, shame, or abandonment.
So it's not about the work, it's about avoiding the criticism. It's fear-based.
It's entirely about safety. But that shield weighs a ton. You're lugging it around every meeting, every interaction. It crushes you. You can't move freely because you're so terrified of a chink in the armor being exposed.
So when she sings about letting it lose its grip, she's talking about vulnerability. She's putting the shield down.
Yes. And that connects to the second part of that lyric. I found the difference between my job and me. This speaks to a clinical concept called identity enmeshment.
Identity enmeshment. That sounds sticky, like gum and hair.
It is very sticky. It's when we fuse our identity with our roles. If you're an artist or a caregiver or a CEO and you enmesh with that role, then there is no boundary between you and the role. You become the role.
So if the role suffers, you suffer.
Worse, if the role dies, you feel like you die. If your art is rejected, you feel like you are rejected. If you lose your job, you don't just lose a paycheck, you lose your sense of self. You look in the mirror and you don't know who is looking back because the title is gone.
I feel like a lot of us do this without even realizing it. We introduce ourselves by our job titles. You go to a party, someone asks, "Who are you?" and you say, "I'm a lawyer," or "I'm a writer." We don't say, "I'm a person who practices law."
We do. We conflate who with what. And the shift, Ti-Fi highlights, is creating a buffer. The lyric is, "It ain't who I am." When you separate your identity from your output, you create psychological distance. Your work can be criticized, your sales can drop, but your core self remains safe because it's not located in the work.
It's like wearing a hazmat suit. The toxicity can be all around you, maybe even on you, but it doesn't touch your skin.
That leads us perfectly into the chorus, which is really the thesis statement of the whole deep dive. This is where the shift happens from the problem to the solution.
This is the part that gets stuck in your head. She sings, "I can drive the car, I can ace the test, but that's just what I do." And then later I got that solid ground. I got that healthy pride. I don't need a medal just to feel the gold inside.
There is a massive psychological shift happening in those lines. We are moving from that external locus of evaluation we talked about, the scoreboard, to an internal locus of control.
So solid ground isn't a place, it's a mindset.
Yes. The gold inside represents unconditional positive regard for oneself. It's worth that cannot be earned, and therefore it cannot be lost. That's the key. If your worth is gold inside you, no one can take it away by giving you a bad performance review.
I really like how the lyrics don't say I stopped driving the car or I stopped acing the test. She's still achieving things. She's still high performing.
Right. That is such a crucial nuance. Recovery isn't about becoming passive. It's not about stopping achievement. It's about putting achievement in its proper place. It's just what I do. It's a function, not an identity. You can still win the race, but you don't need the trophy to prove you exist.
There's another line in the chorus that really stood out to me. I can trip and fall. The light inside me doesn't turn to dark.
This connects directly to Dr. Kristen Neff's research on self-compassion. And this is a distinction that I think a lot of people miss. The difference between self-esteem and self-compassion.
I always thought there were synonyms. Don't we want high self-esteem?
Well, self-esteem is often a fair-weather friend. It's contingent on success. It's there when you're winning. It relies on comparison, being better than average. But self-esteem often abandons us the moment we fail.
Because if your self-esteem is built on being the best, then the moment you trip, you're the worst. It just crashes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But self-compassion catches you. Self-compassion says you tripped. That hurts. Everyone trips sometimes. It's part of being human. That line, the light inside me doesn't turn to dark, means that even when you mess up, you don't turn on yourself. You don't become your own enemy.
You treat yourself like you would treat a friend who fell down. You wouldn't kick them. You wouldn't yell at them.
You'd help them up. The source material phrases it beautifully. You are eligible for happiness simply because you exist, not because you are perfect.
Eligible for happiness, that hits. I think a lot of listeners, and honestly, myself included, often feel like happiness is a reward we have to unlock, like it's hidden behind level 10 of life, and we are stuck on level 3, just grinding away.
And that is the trap. The song asserts that because I'm enough is a complete sentence. Yeah. You don't need a qualifier. You don't need to say because I'm enough since I got that promotion. Just I'm enough.
Now I want to move to what I think is the most visual concept in the entire song. This part really helped me visualize what mental health actually looks like in practice. In the second verse she sings, they call it the immune system of the mind.
Yes. This is a fascinating metaphor. It was actually inspired by the psychologist Nathaniel Branden.
When I hear immune system, I think of white blood cells fighting off a flu. How does that apply to psychology?
Well, think about what a biological immune system actually does. Does it prevent you from ever inhaling a germ?
No, germs are everywhere. You can't avoid them unless you live in a bubble.
Right. A healthy immune system just means that when the germ enters, your body can handle it so it doesn't kill you. It identifies the threat and neutralizes it.
Okay, so in this context, the germs are criticism, or failure, or rejection.
Exactly. A psychological immune system doesn't stop people from criticizing you. It doesn't stop you from making mistakes. But it stops those things from infecting your core self. It stops the infection from becoming systemic.
The lyrics paint this picture of a windshield. It washes off the windshield, it doesn't cause me pain.
That is a classic mindfulness analogy. Imagine you are driving a car. You are the driver. That's your consciousness. The criticism is the rain or the mud hitting the glass. The windshield is the barrier.
I love this because usually when criticism hits, it feels like I'm standing outside in a storm without an umbrella. I'm getting soaked, I'm cold, I'm miserable.
Right? You're absorbing it. You become the rain.
Yeah.
But if you have that windshield, that psychological immune system, you can see the rain. You can acknowledge, oh, look, there is some criticism. You can even turn on the wipers to clear your view. But you stay dry. You don't let the external weather dictate your internal temperature.
That is such a powerful visualization. You can see the negativity, but you don't have to be the negativity.
Precisely. And once you have that protection, that windshield, it allows you to change how you interact with the world. You stop being so brittle. You stop feeling like one wrong move will shatter you.
Which brings us to the lyrics about glass. She sings, "I'm not fragile glass, I'm an open window."
This taps into the concept of anti-fragility. If you operate like fragile glass, your thinking is rigid. It's catastrophic.
Yeah.
One mistake, one crack, and the whole thing shatters on the floor.
That's that spiraling feeling. I made a typo in the email, therefore I'm incompetent, therefore I'm going to get fired, therefore I'll be homeless.
That is the fragile glass mindset. It cannot withstand stress. But an open window allows the wind to blow through. It flows, it's flexible, and because it's open, it allows for something else that is incredibly hard for a lot of us, and that is boundaries.
Oh, the boundaries. The song says I got a boundary line, I can say no and still feel fine. That rhyme no and fine sounds simple, but in practice, it feels impossible.
It feels impossible because of how our brains are wired. We really have to understand the neuroscience here. For many people, especially those with people-pleasing tendencies, the nervous system has been wired to equate pleasing others with survival.
So when you say no, your body literally reacts like you're in physical danger.
Yes, it's a somatic response. You feel guilt. You feel panic, a racing heart. Your brain is screaming, if I don't say yes, I will be rejected, abandoned, or unsafe. It's the fawn response in trauma, where you try to appease the threat to stay safe.
So how does this song flip that? How do you actually get to the feel fine part?
It highlights neuroplasticity, which is the ability to rewire the brain. By saying, I can say no and still feel fine, Tai-Fi is describing the result of retraining the nervous system. You realize you are not responsible for managing everyone else's emotions at the expense of your own peace.
That is a really hard lesson, that you can be a kind person and still say no.
In fact, having a boundary line is the ultimate act of self-respect. It's telling the world, this is where I begin and this is where I end. You are protecting the gold inside. You aren't letting people walk on the grass of your soul, so to speak.
We're moving toward the end of the song now, to the bridge. And this part feels like a mantra you'd repeat to yourself in a bathroom mirror when you're about to lose it. The lyrics are, I made a mistake and I'm still okay. I had a bad day and I'm still okay.
Simple words, but clinically this is distress tolerance.
Which is a core module of DBT, right? Dialectical behavior therapy.
It is. Distress tolerance isn't about fixing the problem immediately. It's about surviving the crisis without making it worse. It's about emotional regulation.
I'm still okay. It sounds almost like she's trying to convince herself.
She's signaling her amygdala. That's the brain's alarm center. When we make a mistake or we get a scary email, the amygdala often lights up as if there is a literal tiger chasing us.
The fight or flight kicks in over a spreadsheet error.
Exactly. Your palms sweat, your heart races. By repeating, I'm still okay, you are engaging in cognitive reframing. You are telling your brain, this is a mistake, not a predator. This is an event, not a catastrophe.
It's de-escalating your own brain, talking yourself off the ledge.
Yes. A mistake is just something that happened. It's not who you are. The event doesn't define the person.
And that leads to the final defiant stance of the song, the outro. This is where it all culminates. She sings, my worth isn't on the table.
This is such a strong image to end on. I want the listener to really visualize this. Think about a negotiation table.
Okay. So I'm sitting there maybe asking for a raise or trying to impress a date or pitching a client.
Exactly. When you enter those situations, a workplace, a relationship, a social gathering, you put a lot of things on the table. You put your skills on the table. You put your time on the table. You put your effort, your humor, your intelligence on the table.
Those are the bargaining chips. That's what I'm offering.
But the song says
You never put your worth on the table.
that is non-negotiable. Your worth is not a bargaining chip. It's not up for debate. It's not part of the transaction.
That is heavy, in a good way. It means I can negotiate my salary, but I'm not negotiating my value as a human being.
Correct. And think about the freedom that gives you. If the deal falls through, if the date doesn't call back, if you don't get the job.
I walk away with my skills and my time, but I also walk away with my worth completely intact. I didn't leave it in the room.
It wasn't part of the deal. You didn't bet your soul on the outcome.
Looking back at this track, it's amazing how much is packed into 3.5 minutes. We went from checking the scoreboard, that desperate need for external validation, to building an immune system, setting boundaries, and finally realizing our worth is off the table.
It really is a journey from the outside in. We start by looking at the trophies on the wall, and we end by looking at the gold inside. It shifts the power dynamic completely. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the driver of your own experience.
And that's really the mission of this deep dive, to show that these aren't just lyrics, they're tools. You can use that windshield visualization in traffic today. You can use the heavy armor concept in your next meeting.
Absolutely. The song is a reminder that resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about knowing that falling down doesn't turn your light to dark. It's about building a structure inside yourself that can weather the storm.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought. We talked about stripping away the human doing to find the human being. So listener, here's the question to carry with you. If you stripped away everything you did today, every trophy, every completed task, every email you answered, every person you pleased, if all of that vanished, would you still be able to find the gold inside just by being you?
That is the ultimate question.
Think about it. Thanks for diving in with us.